We got 6 games to break down. Shall we, Reagan?
I think we shall.
Starting off with the Saturday slate, the 4:30. The staples of the 4:30 Saturday slate, the Houston Texans, are the home team hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers a 3-point favorite, though. 42.5-point total here. Hey, we just hyped up Justin Herbert and those Chargers, man. I know you're picking the Chargers.
I am picking the Chargers. I am a little worried back in my mind that I'm like, what if this is just the Browns all over again? And I'm like hyping up this team going in where it's like they've been rolling and it's like they should just stomp on the Texans and it's just 2.0 where everyone's fading the Texans and it's like, hey, they're the home team. Like they won their division and they just take care of business like last year. But ultimately, I'm going with the Chargers here. I do think they can win this one by double digits. And I will say this Texans team looked a lot worse this year compared to last year. And it's funny because they got better on paper, but some injuries down the stretch definitely hurt your team. And
the play of Stroud.
Yeah, and the play of Stroud, and the offensive line is not good. And the Chargers have a very good defense. And, obviously there were times they struggled this year against some of those elite offenses, but I don't view Houston as an elite offense. So I think the Chargers, muck up the waters. They play their brand of football, and I think this is low scoring. I definitely lean the under for sure. But I can see the Chargers winning this one like 21-10, where it's kind of just they're in control the whole time. They score some early touchdowns, and they kind of just coast in the second half.
I also got the Chargers, man. And I have them covering the 3 points. Look, the last time we saw Houston fully, because they sat their guys this past weekend. The last time we saw them week 17, Baltimore just steamrolled them 31-2. That is not how you want to enter the playoffs, right? On that note, Stroud was struggling. The red zone offense was terrible. Chargers, another really good defense like Baltimore, where I think it's going to be a problem. And honestly, with the way Stroud has looked this year, no more Diggs, no more Tank Dell. It's going to be all on Nico Collins. Jim Harbaugh understands that. It's going to be Joe Mixon, but it's not easy to run the ball in this Chargers defense. The way Stroud's been playing, I have a lot more faith in Justin Herbert than CJ Stroud. I have a lot more faith in Jim Harbaugh than DeMeco Ryans. So although the Chargers are on the road, I don't care, man. I love the Chargers in this one. I would stay away from the over-under. I actually think the Chargers could very sneaky score like 24, 27 points, led by Herbert and Ladd McConkey having a big day, working out of the slot because you got Stingley on the outside. So he'll be probably on Quentin Johnston, who's coming off a career game. But yeah, I like the Chargers here in this one for sure.
Let's go. Bolt up.
Bolt up, baby. Now, Saturday night, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, a 9.5-point favorite, a 43.5-point total. That is a fat spread for a playoff game. That's a fat spread for a playoff game between two division foes.
Yeah, that's why I am taking the Steelers to keep it close. I do think the Ravens will win this. But the injury with Zay Flowers made me like this pick even more. But it's just so many points, and it's kind of disrespectful to Pittsburgh where, I even heard there's a chance of snow, so I even like it more then. But I don't know. I think this one's low scoring. Ultimately, like Baltimore's offense just will have too much firepower that they won't get the win or that they will get the win. But I gotta see it being like 17-14, like, maybe comes down to a Justin Tucker field goal at the end where Lamar has a good drive. But, I could see the Steelers being up even in the fourth quarter and giving those Ravens fans a little bit of a scare. But ultimately, I do have the Ravens winning. I will be in a 10 dance at the tailgate, rocking my Steelers shit. Big Ed, shout out to you for hooking me up with some Steelers
Let's
merch.
Go.
So I don't know what we're gonna do for that. Maybe I'll just give someone the phone and be like, yo, we're gonna live stream for 20, 30 minutes and just walk around the tailgate and maybe mess with some people or have some, I might not even have to do it. People might just be like, yo, fuck you, bro, and we'll go from there. But we'll see how that one goes. But Ed definitely hooked me up with some Steelers merch. So, I just can't take the upset, though. I can't.
Nah, you can't take the upset, dude. This just screams Mike Tomlin special. Come on. And look, the Steelers are coming in here riding a 4-game losing streak. Yuck. And they just played Baltimore in week 16, so 3 weeks ago, at Baltimore, and Baltimore beat them 34-17. Now the Steelers are reeling.
I believe they didn't have George Pickens in that game. And I know he had a dud of a game last week, but I believe they did not have George Pickens. So that obviously is massive for the offense.
It is, but was it massive last week?
No, but I mean, do we know
he's the number one receiver, though? I got it. I got it. Hey, I understand. All right. But I don't think George Pickens making up for 17 points in that game. So that's why I'm going to take
clip it, bro, after he goes for 8 for 202 and they win.
That's why I'm going to take Baltimore to cover the 9.5. Even if it's snowing, I don't care because Najee Harris is not nearly the back that Derrick Henry is. Najee Harris will struggle against this Baltimore front, where Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, I know that Steelers front is good, but their defense has been pretty bad the last 4 to 8 weeks, man. It just has been. They've been letting up a ton of points. I don't have the same faith in the Steelers defense as I had in the past. I think Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson could run all over him, even if it's in the snow. Lamar will carve him up in the air when he needs to, even if he only has to throw the ball 15, 18 times. Doesn't matter. Baltimore's going to win here. Russell Wilson is really, really going to struggle. And I think this will be Russell Wilson's last game as a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Wow, that's bold. That's bold.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be their future.
Well, you could argue he come back for another year. They made the playoffs, but no, I'm not going to make that argument. I think Russell Wilson's out the door, and they have to make a decision on Justin Fields, who I hope is a New York Giant. But beside the point, let's move on to the Sunday slates at 1:00. We got the Denver Broncos as 8.5 point dogs to the Buffalo Bills. The over under is 47.5. The Bills 8-0 in Buffalo. Tough to call an upset here with a rookie quarterback as 8.5 point underdogs. There's no way you're doing it, right?
Well, I am done doubting the Broncos in the sense that, that they're not a legit team, because they are a legit team. They have a very good defense. And I think because they have a very good defense, they'll be able to do enough to hang around in this game and cover the spread. But yeah, the Bills will win. Josh Allen will ultimately, eventually, if they're able to bottle him up in the beginning and have a good game plan, he's just too good to contain the whole game. So eventually he will break off some big throws and some big runs and do Josh Allen things. But I could see, maybe going into the fourth, maybe it's a 10-point lead for the Bills. Broncos make it close with backdoor cover. It's just a lot of points. And, I'm just not going to doubt the Broncos that they're, not going to at least put up some sort of fight. And Sean Payton's proven like he is a good coach when he has his guy.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. I got Baltimore covering, but Denver covering, but Buffalo's going to win the game here. I'm not going to predict that they're going to lose their first game at home against a rookie quarterback. As much as I love
hilarious.
It would be crazy, bro. It would be all the hype that Josh Allen was getting for his MVP case. And then if they do lose this game, everyone's be like, oh, that's why it's Lamar. And it's like, well, it's an MVP for the regular season. It doesn't include the playoffs. But, if they did get a first-round exit, it could factor into some voters'
what
minds,
if
I
both
think.
teams got bounced in the first round? The Ravens and the Broncos, or the Ravens and the Bills. That'd be so freaking funny.
It would be funny. It would be. It would, but I'm not going to project that. But yeah, Denver, Bo Nix has been on fire. Cortland Sutton's been awesome. That defense has been great. You got to trust Sean Payton, a Super Bowl winning head coach, to have his team ready to play. I just think Josh Allen is too big of a beast. It's just too big of a hill for the Denver Broncos to climb. I do think this would be a competitive game, and I do think it could be a low-scoring game. It could also be a shootout. Like, I think go either way. So I would stay away from the total as well in this one, but come on. You can't go against the Buffalo Bills. They got their eyes set on much bigger things than Denver Broncos.
Wonder if Marvin Mims continues this streak. Dude's been on fire as well.
He has been, dude. He has been playing really well.
The past 2 weeks, he's just been cooking. I think he had 2 touchdowns in both games the past 2 weeks.
That's nuts.
And that's pro Marvin Mims.
Very important to their offense, too. He adds a different element with his speed.
Oh, yeah. He was an all-pro as a returner in his rookie year. Like, his speed is next level.
Yeah. I do think Denver will struggle to run the ball, though, in Buffalo.
They've struggled to run the ball all year, though. That's why they've, traded hands between Estime, Javonte, and Jaleel McLaughlin. Like, I don't even think they know who their number one is. It's, such a, hot hand approach. I guess if you, put a gun to my head and ask me who it is, I guess I'd say McLaughlin, but, I don't know. Bo Nix will probably be their leading rusher.
Yeah, Bo Nix probably will be. It's not going to be too cold on Sunday in Buffalo either. It's going to be...
It doesn't even worry me about the cold. It gets 30, cold in Denver and snows in Denver.
30 to 32.
I'm not worried about Denver having to deal with the cold.
No, I'm just pointing it out, the weather. I was just checking to see if it's going to snow in Buffalo. It's not going to snow. It's not going to be too cold. So the passing attacks will be firing on all cylinders, I believe.
Yeah. And honestly, if it did snow, it would just play into the favor of Denver. I feel like bad weather plays in the favor of a bad team or the worst team.
Yes. Yeah. It definitely, the variance isn't as high, like you can keep the game closer when you have inclement weather like that. You can slow down Josh Allen more, I think, but he also loves playing in the snow. But that's not a problem for this week. Let's move on. The Green Bay Packers, 4.5-point underdogs at the Philadelphia Eagles. The total, 45.5. This is our 4:30 game Sunday afternoon. You love these Philadelphia Eagles.
I do love
I'm
these Eagles.
predicting that you're going to have them winning the Super Bowl in your brackets. So tell me why they're going to blow out the Green Bay Packers.
They're just the more complete team. I mean, they've been rolling all year. I mean, to me, they are the best team in the NFC. I know a lot of people will be like, bro, it's the Lions. Like, what are you talking about? But the Eagles are healthy. You know, they'll be getting Jalen Hurts back. And even if they don't, Tanner McKee obviously will ball out. Dude's a stud. Future, Nick Foles story arc in the making. But no. I mean, this team's just complete on both sides of the ball. Where on the Green Bay side of things, they're dealing with a lot of injuries right now. You just lose Christian Watson, who's like just such a key factor to that offense. I mean, you're just putting a lot of pressure now on the other receivers, but also Josh Jacobs, because that just gives the Eagles more chances to be like, hey, Jordan Love, you can beat us with your cast of wide receivers. We're not going to let it be the Josh Jacobs show where he gets the ball 30 times a game. You're going to beat us as a passer. And guess what? Philadelphia has a much improved secondary. It ain't the same Eagles team we saw get cooked by Baker Mayfield and the, number 3, number 4, number 5 wide receivers last year in Tampa Bay. So I think the Eagles get this done. I think they win by double digits here, and they're sitting pretty going into the divisional round.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I have the Eagles winning, but I do have the Packers covering, and it's just the game script that I'm anticipating because they will not cover the spread if these things don't happen. One, Josh Jacobs has to be the fuel of this offense. He needs to get 25 carries. For that to happen, this has to be a close game, and he has to be effective on the ground. That offensive line for Green Bay, which is a good one, is going to have to deal with a lot up front against that Philadelphia defensive line. So that's number one. Number two, I think Tucker Kraft has to be heavily involved. I think the Green Bay receivers will struggle without Christian Watson against his Philadelphia secondary. Jaden Reed did light these guys up week 1, so Jaden Reed is going to have to be that number one guy. He can't be kind of a ghost like he has been back half of the season where, sometimes he scores some touchdowns, but the targets aren't there, the receptions aren't there, the yardage isn't there. He's going to have to be a much bigger part of the offense. I think Green Bay's defense will do a good job of containing the Eagles' offense. I think Hurts is going to struggle in this one, but I think Saquon Barkley is going to have an awesome game. He historically has played well against Green Bay, so Eagles are going to win. They're at home. They're 8-1 at home. It's really tough to go into Philadelphia and win, especially in this type of environment in the playoffs.
What the fuck is that?
Whoa! Whoa!
Is that my alarm clock? Oh, no, that's a smoke alarm.
Your smoke alarm's going off, dude. I'm sorry, Seltzers. Dude, I jumped.
I thought I didn't even I couldn't even tell if it was.
Bro, I thought that was our building for a second. I freaked out.
I was like, oh no.
All right, hold on. Just pause. Hold on.
All right, we're back after Reagan's fire alarm was going off, but luckily it was great timing. I just finished my point on the Packers-Eagles game, so it was good timing, man. I don't have to go through that again. Thank you.
Fire has been put out. I am a freaking firefighter. Yeah.
Enough of that. All right, Sunday Night Football, the Commanders at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are 3-point favorites at home with a 50.5-point total, the highest on the slate this weekend. Although the Commanders went 12-5 and the Bucs went 10-7, they're saying on a neutral site this would be a pick 'em. They're giving the Bucs the 3 points at home. Hey, this is a tough matchup for me, man, because you got the dynamic rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels, but you have a Tampa Bay team that's been in the playoffs 4 consecutive seasons. So they've been there. They've done it. They had a big upset last year against Philadelphia with Baker Mayfield at the helm. I know you're going with the Commies.
I'm going with the Commies. Yeah, because, these teams did play week 1, and they played in Tampa Bay, and I know Tampa Bay blew the bricks off of the Commanders, but this Commanders team is a lot different. Jaden Daniels is a hell of a lot better of a player. He is now going into the first round of the wild card, 18 games in versus game 1. So, I like this Commanders offense a lot more. I like this Commanders defense a lot more. And, the Bucs are just dealing with a lot of injuries on the defensive side of things. And guess what? If Marshawn Lattimore plays like that a lot even more.
Yeah, Lattimore versus Evans.
So that'll be good too. Even if they both get ejected, it's still worth it. But yeah, ultimately, I think the Commanders get it done. And if they can really unlock Brian Robinson in that run game early on, the Bucs could be in some serious trouble.
I'm going to go with the Bucs to win and cover. I don't anticipate Brian Robinson getting hot early. I think they're going to struggle to run the football. It's going to be on Jaden Daniels. And although I think Jaden Daniels is a superstar, it is his first start as a rookie quarterback, which is always difficult in the postseason. And I just have a lot of faith in Baker Mayfield's offense. I think the Buccaneers offense has a lot more weapons than Washington's does. With the emergence of Jalen McMillan and Bucky Irving, it's been huge for them, the two rookies. And I like the Tampa Bay offensive line more than I do the Commanders. And then the Bucs are also at home. This was the most difficult one for me to project, but ultimately I'm going to take the team that's been here. They have done it. They have the veteran leadership. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. And my boy Baker Mayfield. Come on, Bake. Come on. Baker's going to bake. You hate that pick, don't you?
I just hate what you said. Baker's gonna bake. Like,
yeah, it's going to happen.
Motherfucker.
All right, Reagan, the last game on the slate.
What is that like? You've been watching the Costco guys and some like those, that's way too much of that stuff. Baker's gonna bake.
I don't even know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the Costco guys are. I don't have TikTok.
5 big booms. Boom, 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 boom.
That's a doom that he's trying to act all cool for it. Like, bro, you have a girlfriend. There's no girls like watching, being like, "Oh, he's so cool because he doesn't know who the Costco guys are." Like, quit lying. Quit lying.
I don't have TikTok.
Colin gets a big doom.
Doom.
You guys are clowns. All right, Monday Night Football. The Minnesota Vikings at 14-3 are a point favorite over the Los Angeles Rams at 10-7. Total 47.5. This one's interesting because the key starters for the Rams rested last week, so they're basically coming off a bye, while Minnesota geared up for that game against Detroit for the number 1 seed and got their brakes blown off. Tough one, man. Where'd you land?
I went with the Vikings, man. I'm done doubting them. I mean, you went out and won 14 games this year, and 2 of your 3 losses were to the Detroit Lions, a very good football team. So it's like, and the other one was to the Rams, but that could have gone differently. I mean, it ended up being a 10-point loss, but it came down to the wire, and there was that weird, like, missed face mask in the end zone where Sam Darnold literally got his head ripped back. Then somehow they just didn't call it for the safety,
right.
and then the game was over. So, that gets called. Vikings may have won that game, and then they're 15-2. So, ultimately, I'm just going to go with them. I think, stylistically, I like the matchup. I think, if the defense can get some pressure on Stafford, don't give them time to sit back and just hit Kupp and Nakua, bottle up Kyren, it can be huge. And I think Sam Darnold will have a bounce back game. I mean, think about it. He is not playing for millions. He is playing for hundreds of millions here. I mean, this is, depending on how this playoff run goes, we're talking like, the difference of $100 million.
That's a great point that I want to get back to after I give my thoughts in this game. But I ultimately took the Vikings as well. I know they lost to the Rams. As I just mentioned, Rams kind of a little bit more rested right now. But let's be honest, the Minnesota Vikings are a better team from top to bottom. I love the way Darnold's played all year. I trust their weapons on offense. I trust their offensive line to contain this young Rams pass rush. I think the Vikings have a big bounce back. I know their offense struggled last week. The red zone offense struggled. I don't foresee that happening. I think the Vikings can hang 28 to 35 points in this game for sure. And Brian Flores loves to blitz. The Rams offensive line, yes, much improved this season, but still Stafford can't move like he once could. And I see him getting sacked quite often in this game, puts it behind the sticks, and then you're not going to be able to have those throws downfield to Puka Nakua, which is what they need to win this game. Give me the Vikings here. They're just the better team. And to your point with Sam Darnold, dude, he's playing for a lot. He's got so much on the line here, and it's very interesting because I think what happens this weekend and potentially the next few weekends to come completely determines what the Vikings are going to do in the offseason at quarterback. If Sam Darnold leads them to the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, you can't just let the guy leave the building, right?
Well, yeah, that, but also like you're talking, is he going to get like $30 million a year? Or is he going to get like highest paid quarterback in football cut time kind of money? You know what I mean? Because if he gets into the, even the NFC Championship game and it's like they lose, but it's not because of him and he just balls out the whole playoff run, like, you would imagine like at his age, like he's going to want to reset the market. And it's hard to argue that with the season he had and, if they went that far in the playoffs, that you wouldn't let him set the new record for the highest paid quarterback in football, knowing that like, down the line, whoever's up next will just break it anyway. But you would imagine like you could become close to a $60 million a year guy.
Yeah. I mean, if they do make that deep of a run, let's be honest, Daniel Jones got 4 for 160 after one playoff win. Darnold is going to be getting at least $50 million a year. I think.
Least. Yeah. So you would think they might offer him 5 for 60. You know,
I
if
think
all goes well.
no matter what, Minnesota's going to tag him, so they at least have him, and they could. I think they're going to have the flexibility to tag him. But hey, if Darnold throws up a dud this weekend, and they get knocked out in the first round despite winning 14 games in the regular season, maybe
Somebody's
Minnesota's
still
like
paying him.
somebody, but maybe it's not Minnesota, and they're like, you know what, Sam was great for us this year. We're not going to commit that amount of money to him because we do have JJ McCarthy waiting in the wings, and maybe they let Sam walk in that situation.
Well, I would
But
still think they would tag and trade him if anything. Like I don't
yeah,
think there's a world where he walks.
that's what I'm thinking. Like
se.
you could tag
Yeah.
him and trade him. Someone's going to give him that extension. But then it's
Yeah.
like if they do make a deep run, Mel Kiper was saying today that, hey, JJ McCarthy could be available if they're going to re-sign Sam Darnold to a long-term deal. This isn't a situation where it's like Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix because Kirk Cousins was 35. Sam Darnold's only 28 years old,
Not
so
even 27.
he's 27, even
Yeah.
better, right? So he's not like that old guy where then it's like, hey, JJ McCarthy becomes available. And I mean, there's no doubt with the teams that need a quarterback, the Giants, the Raiders in the top 10,
Jets.
one of those teams would be willing to give up that pick in the top 10 plus some other draft capital farther down the board to get JJ McCarthy. So you could be the Minnesota Vikings. There's a scenario where you make it to the Super Bowl. You could even potentially win it, right? You sign Darnold to a long-term deal and you trade McCarthy for a top 3, top 6, top 7 pick, and you add a premier player to this roster. That's a very interesting scenario.
For sure, bro. For sure.